Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Buy Jamaica, Beyond Coffee and Rum, a discussion on Jamaica's export potential. Joining me today, my name is Shane Angus, manager of the NAR office, North America Regional Offices, and joining me today are President Dan Edwards of JAMPRO, President of Jamaica Manufacturers and Association, Richard Pandui, and our good friend, Vice President of ESAs, Larry Leffler. Today, we'll have a very informative discussion. We will focus on a few things. We'll look at an overview of the North American market. We'll also look at what Jamaica is doing in the export sector, and also a testimonial from our distribution. And also we'll learn about what is happening from our manufacturers back in Jamaica. We have a few ground rules that we'd like to cover. First, this webinar is being recorded. All video and audio have been turned off for all participants. If you have any questions, please type in the Q&A box. At the end of the session, we may open the mic and a few persons will be asked to hear their questions live. Your question will be answered by one of the panelists live or responded to in the box. This webinar is really presented for you to get a lot of information, but we also would like to get some information from you. As such, we'll be polling some questions after each presenter, and we ask that you answer the questions so we can actually get that information and we will now learn to serve you better. When this webinar was planned a few weeks ago, we had the full commitment of our Minister Floyd Green. However, last week, the Prime Minister announced the date for the general election, and this actually threw Minister Green's calendar into a tailspin. As such, he's unable to attend today, and he sent his sincere apologies. So we'll get started with the webinar. And I'll start by doing an overview of the NARA office. All right. When we speak of a market, there are many things we have to take into consideration. And one thing is, who is our target audience? Who is our customers? The North American region has quite a bit of persons in the diaspora. The USA in particular have approximately 965,000 persons, mainly in the New York, New Jersey, and Florida area. Canada, on the other hand, has about 310,000, and they are mainly distributed in the Greater Toronto area. Most of our products live in Jamaica are actually geared at this audience, but however, we do have other persons who buy our products a lot. Some of them are other Caribbean countries diaspora. Remember, we actually have the same type of cuisine and culture, so they tend to buy a lot of our products. Similarly, as Jamaicans, we tend to influence other countries' culture. And a lot of persons here living in these markets tend to want to have Jamaican product after they have experienced our Jamaican cuisine. And these persons such as the Indians, Africans, and Hispanic. There are a few trends that we notice in the market that has been driving a demand for our goods. And funnily, we have seen a sudden increase in the demand for Jamaican products since COVID-19. And what we have figured out is that here are some of the reasons why we may be seeing this demand. More persons are preparing their own meals from home since COVID-19. Now here in the Manhattan region, you will see, most restaurants are actually closed, or if they're open, they're offering just a reduced menu. So most persons are actually preparing their own meals. Even the Jamaican trucks that used to be along the road selling food are no longer out. So persons who want to have the taste for Jamaican food are now preparing their own food. We also see a trend where more persons are eating healthier foods. And again, this is driving a demand for Jamaican food as we have good quality, fresh products coming into the market. There's also a trend for pre-prepared and ready-to-eat, easy-prepared food. This is one area we'll talk about later as an opportunity that we think we can actually, as a country, take advantage of. There's also a trend towards meat alternative, another area of opportunity, which we will discuss later in the presentation. And another thing that is driving demand from our end, which is very interesting, is that we're getting a lot more new calls here in the market. More persons are looking at distribution and creating new products, and they're using Jamaican product in their new product lines. So they are actually persons who want to now bring Jamaican products in, start small business and distribute, as well as those who actually want to to create new products using Jamaican goods. So I mentioned earlier that some things are creating some opportunities and the persons are eating healthy. And this is leading to more persons demanding other stuff, things such as gluten-free starches. And we see a few companies in Jamaica now trying to go down that path to produce these stuff and distribute them in the market. And yes, there is a potential and there is an opportunity. So now we're seeing that and we will work with the companies coming out of Jamaica to ensure we find a market for them. There's another opportunity in pre-prepared packaging. So when you enter the supermarkets here, you see a lot of things that are being already done. Even though persons are actually preparing their own food, they would like to have it more convenient and easy for them to use. So packages like on my left is soup. You see that package with corn and carrots, etc. Pre-packaged just to make a soup as you go along. And persons are more gravitating those stuff. Easy to prepare and ready to eat food is another trend we're seeing. Most persons actually have these food cooked and frozen and put in the microwave within a few minutes, they are ready to eat. And that's another opportunity that we think we can look at. And the trend towards meat alternative, plant-based products. This is another big thing. And I think we have the potential to enter this market and be a key player. And I know Richard will mention something along later on. Now, as we talk about the products for Jamaica in this market, we still have to look at how do we get these products to the end users. And yes, there are many distributors out there. There are existing distributors with extensive network that is feeding the large and small retailers, and such as Stop and Shop, Food Bazaar, and in USA and in Canada, the Loblaws. So Larry later on will actually give us a testimonial on his operation and how he's feeding the market here. But with the invention of these new products coming on, or the products that are healthy, we see an opportunity for us as JAMPRO to actually tap into new chains of supply. And some of these are health food chains and other ethnic group retail outlets. So I hope this will set the context for our discussion. And we will now hand over to President Edwards. Give us an overview of the Jamaican export sector and what the government is doing to actually drive export out of Jamaica. President Edwards, welcome, and over to you.
Hi, good morning all. I'm very pleased to be with you this morning to discuss the whole question of Buy Jamaican and what we have to offer beyond coffee and rum. Jamaica has really an exciting opportunity to open to you all this morning, and thanks for those who are online joining us from near and far. I know you are a global audience listening to this, and Jamaica as a global brand really has something to address to all of you. So good morning to panelists, good morning to listeners, everyone. Okay, so what I'm going to talk to you about very quickly this morning is the top export products out of Jamaica, the global market access you can achieve by locating in Jamaica, where we see new export opportunities, and Shane has already addressed some of this, and then what are the export enabling initiatives that the government is taking. So if we look at the leading processed food and beverage exports from Jamaica, you can see, starting from the bottom up, that rum has always been our biggest export. But close behind it, there are a number of food products. So sauces, ackee, coffee, juices, even bulla, the humble bulla is one of our products. Actually, a lot of our exports at the moment are food and beverage. So it's talking about China and seafood going into China. We're also doing flavored milk beverages such as Nutriment and other Lasco products of that nature. We are also looking at pastries and baked goods, and we see real opportunity for that. But you will see later on that food is not the only thing that we can export from Jamaica. Looking at market access, Jamaica has access to most of the countries in the world through different partnership agreements and different trade treaties. So if you look at most favored nation access, that is because we are members of the 164 member World Trade Organization. We have most favored nation access to most of those countries. We also have multilateral trade and partnership agreements with North America, particularly the US under the Caribbean Basin Initiative. with CARICOM through the Caribbean Single Market Economy, with Canada through CARIBCAN, and with various countries in Latin America, particularly partial scope agreements, as they call them, with Costa Rica, Colombia, and Dominican Republic. Then Europe under the European Partnership Agreement. So that allows us access to most of the markets in the world through location in Jamaica. And some of the export opportunities that we see, we actually did a whole study through Euromonitor, looking at a market assessment across a range of products that we felt Jamaica has a real competitive advantage in. So we looked at roots and tubers, yam, sweet potato, and cassava, and we see an untapped potential for $12+ million in that category of roots and tubers. I know from my personal experience of living in London for many years that yam, sweet potato, and other non-gluten varieties of tubers are now very much appreciated in the international market because they're healthy. Some of them are superfoods like breadfruit. Shane mentioned breadfruit flour. Breadfruit is a real opportunity. In fact, Walmart in the past has asked us for consistent supplies of breadfruit, which is a bit of a challenge because we don't have orchards, but we are able to supply some level of breadfruit. Crustaceans is another whole opportunity. Obviously, as an island, we're surrounded by deep waters, and crustaceans, particularly from the Pedro Banks area, lobster tails, frozen whole lobster, and live lobster. These are things that we are already exporting, particularly to China and also to the US market, because I know that one of our companies has an agreement with Red Lobster to take lobster tails. So that's a real continuing opportunity, provided obviously that we fish in a sustainable manner. And that is part of what the government mandates with a particular season for fishing for certain crustaceans. And then the fresh fruits area, we see a whole lot of opportunity for all sorts of fresh tropical fruit: papaya, mango, orange, avocado. The other day, we had an American company that flew their own chartered vessel into Jamaica to take the first shipment of mangoes for the season. And that shipment was sold long before the flight left Jamaica. So there are real opportunities in mangoes, papayas, oranges, and other fresh fruit. Continuing from Euromonitor market assessment, we see that some of the global takeaways from that market assessment is there is at least at the moment 61 million in untapped export potential for the focus categories. So the focus categories are those that I mentioned before, and I think that there really is an opportunity for leveraging our opportunities in food with traditional food categories, investing in infrastructure to improve our logistics in agriculture and to build Jamaican brands. And what we haven't done is branded our fresh fruit and vegetable and tuber opportunities and products going into the market, because we know that the Jamaican diaspora pays more for Jamaican yam, Jamaican sweet potato, etc. But we are not branding those products in a strong enough manner so that they can command consumer recognition. So that's something we need to do. Some of the top priority categories, as I've said before, and also added to that is coffee, because although coffee is a traditional product, there is huge demand globally for specialty coffees where our Jamaica Blue Mountain and High Mountain play. And we think that that is an untapped or a not sufficiently tapped opportunity for us to grow. And then, of course, the diversification of markets, because our traditional markets, US, Canada, and UK, but we also, as Shane was saying, share a lot of cuisine choices with a lot of other nationalities, such as the Hispanic market, because they tend to eat very similar produce to us. And so there's real opportunity to target that market as we move forward. So looking at our traditional markets, the US, as I said, we have preferential access because of the Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act, which is soon to be renewed. And we see there the market demand products that we can grow in the very short term: roots and tubers, bread and pastries, crustaceans, and fish fillets, because fish fillets, again, is another huge opportunity as people move further away from red meat and fresh produce, both for processing and for table consumption. For Canada, again, Canada, we see a real opportunity there, duty-free access for most agricultural products through CaribCan, and you see there the demand products that we think can service that market. So obviously the tropical fruit like melon and papayas, which grow abundantly in Jamaica, and we do have orchards and farms growing melon, particularly in St. Elizabeth. Preserved fruits is something that we need to be doing more of. So sun-dried mango, sun-dried other fruit products, roots and tubers, as in all markets. And as Shane showed in his presentation, breadfruit flour and different types of non-gluten flour. We think that this is a real opportunity for us to move forward. And then sauces and condiments, as we have been supplying. And then looking at the UK market, we see similar opportunities there for similar fruits. And of course, because of the EU CARIFORUM Economic Partnership Agreement, that previously gave us access to the UK market, but now with Brexit, we have our own agreement with the UK, and the UK is one of our top export partners and a leading destination through our diaspora there. I wanted to look very quickly at some other export opportunities. Shane tackled this to an extent, but some of the things that we have in this COVID period been exporting, which is really interesting: hand sanitizer in the middle there. We have been exporting that to the region and somewhat to the US. We've actually exported toilet tissue to the North American market, which is really a first for a Jamaican company doing that. Breadfruit. Breadfruit is a superfood, as I alluded to earlier, and we are now vacuum packing roast breadfruit and green banana and other Jamaican, what we call hard food, for the international market to give it a longer shelf life. And I think this is definitely the way to go for the third generation diaspora that we're seeing come through now. Cosmeceuticals, and so all sorts of cosmetic products coming out of Jamaica. The trend towards natural cosmetics, and Jamaican black castor oil is one of those products. We see real opportunity, and we've actually taken companies into the market to find distribution, particularly in the Atlanta area, and that has worked very well for us. Looking at some more non-traditional PPE, because of the whole COVID period, the need for masks and for coverings, and for bleach, hand sanitizer, as I said, even IV solutions, all of these, for all health products, the demand is increasing, and many of these can be made in Jamaica, particularly for the wider Caribbean Basin region. Organic food, we do have a small organic food movement in Jamaica that is doing all sorts of fruits and vegetables and also coffee, and that's a real opportunity moving forward. And then some of the more industrial products like aluminum hydroxide and limestone aggregate and limestone products, so downstream products of limestone. This is the vast array of products that Jamaica can export and is exporting. We're actually exporting quite a lot of aggregate. Some has gone to North America and some has gone as far as Chile. So really quite a diverse set of products. And then what is the government doing to enable exports and to incentivize more exports? So the government is really making it easier to export from Jamaica. We've implemented ASICUDA, which is a real-time data provision, customs data provision system, so that now you can look at what is being exported by whichever company on a real-time basis. We've implemented the port community system, which is moving towards paperless trading. So online submission of all documentation for import and export, which will go to all the agencies involved in the import and export process. So making it much easier to interface with those agencies. And then establishing the Special Economic Zone Authority, which manages special economic zones. And these are zones where you have special incentives to locate, and they are going to be near the ports. There are already zones in Montego Bay and in Kingston near the ports. And these will offer incentives to people who are focused on export. And then huge infrastructure improvements at the Port of Kingston. CMA CGM, which manages the government part of the port, Kingston Freeport Terminal Limited, have invested more than 400 million in the port, and we are now able to accommodate new Panamax vessels. And then the private sector side of the port, Kingston Wharves Limited, have also upgraded their total logistics center and are able to offer logistic services to a number of global players, including those who export cars and car parts. So just to give you a bit more on the improved port community system, you see the benefits there, and I've spoken to the benefits in terms of efficiency and customer service. And some of the key features are paperless transactions, streamlined procedures, interoperability, so movement around the different players in the business, and tracking and tracing of cargo, which is really critical. And so what is the national impact of this whole system is that it's really going to allow an optimization of the processes in trade transactions and will be a key feature in improving our competitiveness in trade and logistics as we go forward. So very exciting about that. And out of Jamaica, you can be assured of getting your product at the right place at the right time. We have 12 major shipping lines serving Jamaica. The 400 international flights weekly is really not happening at this COVID time, but we're moving back towards that. It'll probably take us a year to get back to that status, but we're moving back towards it. But the port was never closed during the COVID period and continues to operate, so that weekly port connections continue to be operable, and the ship handling capability is certainly in place. So the economy is recovering, and JAMPRO continues to provide service to exporters, to drive investments, to expand exports, to find new markets for our exports, and to link importers with exporters and vice versa, so that we can improve our export capacity into global markets and build brand Jamaica successfully. So thanks very much for listening, and JAMPRO is open to having further discussions with you in the panel discussion and to answering those questions which I see coming hard and fast. And we really invite you to do business Jamaica and to talk with us so that we can help you achieve your export goals. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Lots of information, lots of opportunity there in Jamaica. And I'm pretty pleased of what the government is doing to facilitate exports. So I hope our participants are listening and they're well energized to now take that plunge and start to see how they can export out of Jamaica as well. Now that you have shared the landscape in Jamaica, President, I'll take it back a little bit to New York, and we will actually now bring our next presenter, who is Larry Leffler, Vice President of Eve Sales Corporation, who will share with us a first-hand experience of being a distributor of Jamaican products in the market and what he sees the opportunities are and how he will actually help to grow more sales out of Jamaica. Larry, over to you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm going to start off with a little thing about Eve Sales. We're located in Bronx, New York. We've been a trusted importer, manufacturer, and distributor of Caribbean, mostly Jamaican, since 1969. That's when we made our first trip to Jamaica. We sourced and purchased a few assorted products. It wasn't much, and the rest is history. These products were an instant success, and we've been growing our assortment and developing long-lasting relationships with our suppliers ever since. Some of the brands that we represent are Blue Mountain Country, Lasco, Pick a Pepper, and St. Mary's, just to name a few. So why buy Jamaican? First of all, Jamaican products and Eve sales are synonymous. When people think Eve sales, they think Jamaican. We support our partners / manufacturers in Jamaica, and in turn, hopefully, we do our part to help stimulate the economy. When we exhibit our products, the diaspora consumer wants to know that we support brand Jamaica. We proudly represent the same pride and passion that our vendors in Jamaica put into their products. Companies have stepped up when necessary to meet our needs. In the midst of the present COVID pandemic, we were able to get germicidal soap from Jamaica. This is while all of these types of products cannot be found here in supermarkets. So that gave us an advantage. The relationships that we have developed over the years are invaluable. We are treated like family by many of our vendors. When we are in Jamaica, we spend time at some of our vendors' homes and celebrate special occasions with them. A quick story that I tell is how I met Asha from Baba Roots. I was at an expo in Kingston, walking down an aisle, and I felt like someone was watching me. So I turned around and I see this crazy looking Rasta guy staring at me. He waved me over and we started talking. Within minutes, Eve Sales was the exclusive importer of Baba Roots. And Asher and I are great friends to this day. This is just an example of the ease of conducting business and the relationships that have developed in Jamaica. The unique advantage of selling Jamaican products. When we exhibit at the Fancy Food Show in New York, we are always the only exhibitor with authentic Jamaican products. That gives us a nice advantage. This attracts buyers from all over the US to visit our booth where they experience the true taste of Jamaica. Many Jamaican products are now mainstream. When people travel to Jamaica, they want to come home and experience the same foods and flavors. They see Jamaican preparations on cooking shows, and most restaurants feature some kind of Jamaican presentation on their menu. We've also seen our products being used by celebrities on social media. Chrissy Teigen and NBA star Tristan Thompson, to name a couple, have done cooking exhibits using our products. The popularity of Jamaican products is growing all the time. As our business grows along with this popularity, we know that this has a positive effect on the Jamaican companies that we work with. Market expectations. What are consumers looking for? Consumers are looking for foods that are exciting, nutritious, and authentic. We are noticing that our suppliers in Jamaica are also recognizing this trend. More products are being offered with low sodium, low sugar, etc. There is also excitement focused on superfoods, as was mentioned earlier. These are foods that are rich in antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. Jamaica has many of these superfoods. To name a few: sorrel, moringa, turmeric. We also see sea moss trending in the US as a superfood. We own the brand and trademark to Big Bamboo Irish Moss Drink in the US. This is gaining more popularity as more people realize the nutritional value of the ingredients. Obviously, Jamaicans have known this for a long time. I've noticed the way Jamaican companies do business have come a long way. As little as 10 years ago, there were Jamaican companies that could not ship to the US because they were not compliant with FDA or USDA. We now not only see that this has changed, but some of these companies are now compliant with FSMA. Many of the companies are compliant with FSMA procedures, which are quite complicated at times. Some of the companies now hold advanced food safety certifications that not even all US manufacturers have, such as HACCP and SQF. Things have come a long way in a short period of time, and we look forward to more changes in the future. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you, Larry. Well said. That's a very good testimonial. I like that. And I want to say thank you for continuing to support Jamaica and buy Jamaica, and we look forward to a longer relationship with you. Now, we have heard from President as to what's happening in Jamaica and what the government is doing. We've heard from a distributor who told us that Jamaica, and buying Jamaica and selling Jamaica is probably the best thing. Now, we want to hear from the other side of the equation, which is the supplier side. So we want to understand what Jamaica is offering, what the manufacturers are doing, and see what they're doing to to certify themselves. So I would like to introduce Mr. Richard Pandiwe, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, who will share with us a few things that is happening in his organization that is driving production that will suit the market here. Richard, welcome and over to you.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, all the participants. Good to see everyone. Good morning. All right, so I'm going to speak to what's happening in the manufacturing export sector right now. I'll share a few slides that have been pretty much been guided on. So hopefully I'll address the questions that participants have. So I mean, the first question is that people ask, do we actually manufacture in Jamaica? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. It's a very important pillar in our economy. Currently contribute almost 9% to our GDP. We employ over 82,000 persons, especially in higher value-added jobs. Producing over $67 billion of goods in 2019, an increase above the previous year, around 1.5 billion export last year. Obviously, this year we're declining with the COVID situation and with the mining decline. So the short answer: do we manufacture in Jamaica? Yes, we do. And, what do we manufacture? So President Diane has gone into, shared a very good slide with a number of the things that we do. So we have traditional and non-traditional manufactured exports. And in both, combined, we're actually showing an increase in our manufacturing over the last couple of years. And, we're showing 5% growth. It's not a bad kind of metric over the last year. As Diane pointed out, we have some current hot products in Jamaica. And despite we're saying anything other than rum, but rum is there. The sauces, the accurate processing and preservation of fruits and vegetables, bakery products, beverages, it's all the stuff that Diane mentioned. What we're trying to do, is to evolve from being sample to real size. Many times you have gone into the markets, and one of the questions that people come back at you, listen, you have great products, we're very interested, but you only can send samples. And we're ready to put a real order down, you can't deliver. And what's happening is that, we are evolving. We're definitely evolving, and I'm saying we're moving from sample to real size. Now, what are our advantages as we sit here? One of the big advantages we have is brand Jamaica. Probably our biggest advantage. You go into all the markets, you see a lot of Jamaica style. All the terms that you use for people to latch onto brand Jamaica without actually coming from Jamaica, and that's obviously a big pull for the products here. We're a logistics dream, I keep saying to people, the pirates set up Port Royal hundreds of years ago because it was such a great position logistically and still remains the same. And this is going to become even more important with so many global logistics disruption taking place in it. And as we go through I don't know if it's the second or third or what wave of COVID we're going through now, but logistics disruption becomes a real nightmare for many parts. The special economic zone, which Diane mentioned already, we have a duty-free access to the CARICOM market, to 16 million persons, but we have substantially, we had and we will get back there, substantially more visitors consuming. We have consumers moving to healthier, more natural product consumption, which Shane mentioned before. And this is driving a lot of interest now into markets like ours. And Jamaica is home to investment, so while persons here might be talking about what they could buy from, there's also an opportunity for you to invest back into the backward integration, into the manufacturing plants or into the farms. And the biggest advantage, we're just nice, we're just nice people. You want to work with us. How are we keeping pace with changing demands? So Dan mentioned the policy alignment at the government level. This was reinforced maybe a month ago when the manufacturing strategy was actually approved in Parliament. First time we've had that was a major step, and it means that we will have alignment there, and we'll get support to move the sector forward. You find Jamaican companies more and more having strategic alliance with international partners and with each other. Again, scale becomes very important, and the know-how, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes we have to have the right partnership to help us to leapfrog to the next stage, and that's what a lot of companies are doing now. Where there's a huge emphasis now on this diversification and value-added processing. People want value. They'll pay for value. You're going to a Whole Food in the US and you see the prices that are being charged, you know. I mean, the truth is Jamaica will hardly ever be likely to compete on the lowest price possible. We just don't have those economies of scale. What we have to compete is just try to get as far up in the niche markets as possible with value added. And this has been, you know, this has been aided by the significant retooling over the last 4 years. I mean, Jamaica at one stage had very prohibitive financing costs. Interest rates are very expensive over the last 4 or 5 years. With improvement in our fiscal position, you know, the interest rate came down significantly. And this allowed many companies to retool. I mean, you have the Development Bank of Jamaica, you know, taking off the risk of, you know, for the approved financial institutions to lend money to the productive sector. So good stuff happening, which companies have taken advantage of. And we're scaling up. And we have to scale up because at the end of the day, you know, what many of our distribution partners are looking for are competitive costs. And, you know, to get those competitive costs, get those unit costs down, we need to have scale. And one thing that has driven this unit cost reduction in the last few years has been our transition to LNG in many cases. Maybe 5 years ago, Jamaica was paying US 38 cents per kilowatt hour. We're down to roughly 20 cents now. That's a big jump. We still have some ways to go, but at least takes out a big part of the cost factor. And within the COVID era that we're in now, we're now making greater use of the e-commerce platform, which allows a lot more people to have access to what is available here and to see what we're doing. And not to be dismissed, we have socially and environmentally responsible practices. More and more retailers, companies are asking, you know, what environmental practices are you engaging? What practices are you using to employ your people? So it becomes a very important part, and Jamaica is really way up there when it comes to these type of practices. So what have we seen from our standpoint of new products industry that are emerging or in case expanding? Paper product industry, toilet paper, hand towel. I mean, you know, a year ago to hear that Jamaica exporting toiletries to the United States would have been incredulous, but that is now the reality. The hand sanitizers and the other cleaning agents is a very hot space right now. In fact, the government made some changes that allow the rum company to directly sell raw material to the manufacturers to make hand sanitizers, and Jamaica is now in a position to export those. Canned products, you know, President Diane referred to the fact, you know, for example, like breadfruit, etc., and the seasonality of it and the demand. But the truth is that all these products can be canned and you have year-round demand. I mean, so, you know, that is something that definitely is increasing. I mean, Jamaica has a lot of canning capacity because of the investment in Atkins, which, you know, is very challenged to get. But the same canning facilities can be used to can so many other stuff, you know, yams, you know, breadfruit, etc. So you find more manufacturers going to this space, you know. When you look at the shelves in the US and Canada, the UK, the canned products are flying off the shelf in this period. Natural products, which Shane mentioned, I mean, when I visit the small and medium-sized players in Jamaica or in this space, they have tripled and quadrupled their production. They have to be employing people and still struggling to keep up with demand for the natural products demand. I mean, it's, I remember when one of the doctors in New York got diagnosed with COVID and then, you know, he recovered, and there was an article in New York Times about he went to him and used the remedies that he was accustomed to from Jamaica. And it just blew up, you know, in terms of other demand. Vegan products, huge demand. Gluten-free products, companies are going on gluten-free of cassava flour, sweet potato flour, breadfruit flour, which are finding their ways into Europe and into the Whole Foods, etc. The textile and apparel industry is making a nice comeback with this in this period. I mean, you know, they're very creative, and, you know, again, Jamaicans don't just do things. We do things with attitude and with style, and, you know, it's just what we do. And so this is creating a huge demand and huge interest. The pharmaceuticals, also very important, and natural products, again, going back to the whole natural product scenario. So we're seeing that when we speak to local companies here, they're seeing renewed interest, and they're actually making a lot of progress. You know, P.A. Benjamin's and a number of companies. And what is also emerging big time is contract manufacturing for US-based companies. Companies are coming to us and say, We want to produce our products and export back to us. This is driven in main by the fact that their original supply has been disrupted. We're now in a more competitive position. We're logistically closer. So it's creating it's creating a lot of interest and a lot of buzz. So, contract manufacturing, all right, your man will do that too. And I explain the reason here. The proximity to the world's largest consumer market is a given, that's the US. It's also giving these manufacturers access to CARICOM and Latin America. So they manufacture here and they have duty-free access to the 16 million other people in the English-speaking Caribbean, which we are consuming quite a bit. Our production cost continues to come down. We're getting more competitive, although we're not the cheapest at this stage, and we'll probably never ever be, but we're getting much more competitive. We do have surplus production capacity, as Shane pointed out and Larry pointed out. We're very compliant to the US quality standards. We have to be FDA approved. They send their people into the factories to inspect and keep them. So we're very proud of those standards. And already some major global players are tapping into this opportunity. The world's largest food company, the largest food company in the world, Nestle, is actually doing contract manufacturing, for example, in Jamaica. So, that's what I'll have for now, and I'll wait the questions. Shane? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Richard. Lots of information, lots of things happening with your manufacturers. And I would just want to take this opportunity to say to you that we as JAMPRO stand ready to help your members to find new markets for these products and to help them grow. And also, you mentioned a very important point. Not only are we looking to find new distributors, but we're also looking investors to go back to Jamaica and invest in these facilities, because that is also needed for us to grow our production. So members who have the capital and who want to go back to Jamaica, is an opportunity for you to actually be part of this growing industry.
Yeah, and the key thing on that, Shane, that's what I mentioned, is that it's really about partnership. Right. So it's about buying and selling, about partnership, because we're building an experience for our consumers. That's what we're going to extract the value.
Yeah, I agree, totally agree. Well, at this point, what's left is the part where we want to hear from you. And I will hand over now to President Edwards, who will moderate the Q&A section, and I'll come back for closing. Thank you. President, over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Shane. And thanks to our speakers. Larry, that was a brilliant testimonial of what it's like to really build Brand Jamaica at the coalface. And Richard, thanks so much for that update on what's happening in the manufacturing sector. Well, I'm happy to say that we really are a bit overwhelmed with the questions. So I'm going to try and direct them to the right place. Let me just start with some of the questions that we got before we started. So Brand Jamaica is a big brand. What are we doing to ensure the market remains viable for our people? Do you want to take a stab at that, Richard, and I can chime in after?
Well, no, Brand Jamaica, a study was done by JAMPRO many years ago when they were looking at brand recognition in the world. Brand Jamaica was way up there. It was amazing. And you have seen it. Our culture, we speak about the product store, but in our cultural impact has been huge. The VP nominee for Democratic Party put it best. We're a big country and a small island, And I think one thing that we have not done well at is that we have not protected our brand. We have not used all the requisite legal process to protect our brand. And because in many ways, many companies could not afford to take on the complexity and the cost related to that. So now there's something called the Madrid Protocol that allows companies in a very cost-effective way to protect their brands globally. We have been pushing very, very hard on this, and we're promised that this would have been executed this year. Obviously we had some delay, but this has been passed on the island, and this would allow us and the manufacturers to protect their brand better. It's a shame and to watch so many, absolute amazing brands just being copied and without just recently, and we just do nothing about it. So again, this is something that we have to take responsibility for as a country. Hopefully the protocol will be passed, and that will be a big step forward in protecting our brand. But we can't continue to just believe we can put a product the protection and expect it not. People going to see it and just copy it and move along. So that's a major step at this stage, Diana, that I think we want to get done.
Absolutely, and just to support Richard on that, we at JAMPRO are fully convinced, as he said, we did a study several years ago, of the importance of brand Jamaica. I spoke about branding even our fresh produce, because when Jamaican mangoes land, someone sent me a video of lines around the corner of, gotta have been 100 to 200 people standing in a line to buy Jamaican mangoes, which is crazy, and I'm sure Larry can attest to that. So I think we really, we are clear that we have to build a brand, and we actually have made a request to the government for funding to actually get a proper national country brand. So that is something that you've got to give us a bit of time to get that through, because you know we're going into an election now, but hopefully we will continue this effort and the government will support us in actually building a structured brand for Jamaica, because we think it's critical.
And that is where we're going to get the value down. I mean, it's you know, the value that we talk about comes from brands. You know, brands are price resistant. Brand people pay for brands.
Yeah, absolutely.
What Jamaica cannot be is to become a commodity based. We're not a commodity supplier. We'll never be there. It has to be around the strength of our brand, and that people pay a premium because this is something they aspire, they experience, they remember, and that's why we need to protect our brand in the best way possible.
Absolutely. One question that I got for JAMPRO, which I will endeavor to answer, is how can JAMPRO better engage with diaspora organizations promoting doing business year-round? We have a plan. I'm not sure who is saying that we have a plan, but JAMPRO also has a plan. We actually have launched in the last few months the economic diplomacy program with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And what that means is that we have regular outreach to all our diplomatic missions, which includes honorary consuls, consuls general, missions, embassies, high commissions, everything. All the people who represent us globally. And we have regular webinars with them. We're regularly feeding them with information on what's happening in Jamaica and where we want them to direct their economic efforts. So we are fully committed to building a much stronger relationship with all our representatives overseas, including the diaspora organizations. So keep on engaging with us in this. And one thing JAMPRO is interested in doing is appointing more honorary investment advisors. So anyone who has prominent business interests and is interested in helping us in this endeavor, please get in touch with Shane and Chris in New York and Stephen in Toronto, so that we can build up our network of people like this. So let me ask Larry to answer this question. How can I get Jamaican products to be sold in America, and what is the procedure? So Larry, you know this inside out, so do you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, well, depending upon the product that's being sold, for instance, I know JAMPRO has been very useful in getting products. People in Jamaica who have products that they want to sell in the U.S., they've contacted me, and if I can help them, I do. If not, I can refer to people how they can get to somebody who may be the ideal company for them to get in contact with to import and distribute their products. We've had success with a few companies that have sourced contacts like that, and things I think Home Choice was one of them that we started with ourselves and developed into it's a great product for us now. We started by 2 pallets at a time. Now we buy containers. So that's the best way, is to JAMPRO is very helpful with that as far as getting people from point A to point B, and I think that's a good way to start. You guys have contacts here in the U.S. via us or other companies that sell across the country. So, and we sell across the country. We sell to distributors all over the country. So if it's a food product and we can help, we're happy to do that.
So the short answer is if it's a food product, contact Larry. And if you want to know how to contact Larry, ask Shane and Chris.
Yep.
Richard, I'm going to throw this one to you. Are we looking at increasing trade within CARICOM?
Absolutely. So, I mean, how I define CARICOM, I define CARICOM as my domestic market. I mean, you know, Jamaica for a long time now, we saw our domestic market as Jamaica, but the truth is CARICOM is our domestic market. If you look at just on food import alone, so Jamaica import $1 billion US worth of food almost per year now. CARICOM is importing in excess of $4 to $5 billion US of food. So I mean, and we have the access, you know. So I mean, we have no doubt in our mind that we have to. This is our backyard, and we have to consolidate our product. We have to consolidate our market here. So a lot of companies are now looking in this direction, and a lot of opportunities are coming up because the Caribbean has been so import focused, and now the disruption is opening the door. So you know, the pandemic has had many negative, but it has also created a door opening in many ways for local companies and local products. So short answer, yes.
Absolutely, and I can also say that JAMPRO has also conducted several missions, trade missions into the Caribbean, such as Bahamas. We took about 15 companies to the Bahamas. We've taken companies to Trinidad, to Barbados, physically before COVID, and now in this period, we would have normally had an Expo Jamaica in April where we would have invited in a number of buyers. Last year we had several hundred buyers. I think we were close to 500 buyers, and many of them were from the CARICOM region. So CARICOM will always be, as Richard said, a domestic market. Another question on markets, Richard, why do we not trade with African countries?
So it's incorrect to say we do not trade with African countries. There's some trade, but very limited. I mean, I can speak to Grace Candy having offices in Ghana at one stage. In the company that I represent, for example, we're shipping to a number of countries over there through third party. I think that's an indictment against us also, in that we've always stayed very near shore. And we've always focused on, you know, diaspora, very diaspora specific, you know, so we go to New York and Jersey and Florida and Toronto. And I think no people realize the global village is so small. I mean, and the logistics, you know, I mean, it's not difficult getting there under normal circumstances. And there is demand. There's a lot of similarity in their taste profile and the demand profile. And our music has paved the way in many ways. Our music and our paved the recognition of our brand. So, I mean, and Nigeria is showing a lot of interest for Jamaican products now, a lot of interest. Our Nigerian High Commissioner here. The Ghana continues to be very focused. I remember a lot of our people, if you chase back our region, we're coming from the Gold Coast of Africa, lots of similarities. So when you look at Africa, when you look at Latin America, markets that we have traditionally just not gone in, I think these are now opening up. And again, the e-commerce platform, just the ability to see things now at a glance, has created opportunities even beyond us physically landing in a place. People are writing to us and saying, we see these products, we want these products. So I mean, it's again, you know, to get the scale that we want and to move to the next level, we need to tap into these markets. And you know, Nigeria is the 7th largest economy in the world, I think. Certainly, yeah. I mean, it's and we just need to move our mental space away from just thinking that we have to go fly across the road, and we need to see the world as just part of just a village that we're in.
Absolutely, and I think in referring to the export of lobsters into China, we're definitely on that, moving in that direction. Someone was here suggesting that we can export squid to Japan. Absolutely, we are also looking at sea cucumbers, which we also don't eat in Jamaica, and seaweed, because these are things that we have not exploited the blue economy and the sea around us. So I think there is real opportunity for us to do that. And we actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, so even things like recently one company in Jamaica, they're getting orders from Ecuador for animal nutrition products.
Right.
So,
which can be made out of sargassum. So, you know, sargassum is another opportunity. Annoying to swimmers, yes, but if we collect it and we use the nutrients in the sargassum, we can actually make very good animal feed from it.
Yeah, and from the milk products, byproducts of the mills.
I'm going to throw a question to Shane. Outside of imports and manufacturing, are there opportunities for creative agencies and consultancies?
And the short answer to that is yes, President, we do. But what I'll say to persons who are inquiring, please reach out to us. We have different sector teams that will share those opportunities. So just reach out to us with your queries, and then we will actually direct them to the appropriate team in-house who will handle those.
Yes, we have a whole section within JAMPRO, which is film, animation, and music, and that deals with all creative industries. So we can direct you to some of the talent in Jamaica that is really crying out for proper commercial management. I think this is an area, you know, we have all this creativity in Jamaica in the arts, but we're not understanding and really securing their potential by understanding the business of arts. And that's where we really could use some help. So definitely reach out to Shane. Another question about exporting more value-added processed agricultural products. Well, whoever asked this question was reading our agricultural strategy, because that is a big part of our agricultural strategy. One, to expand the production of the basic food crops, so fresh produce, and fresh produce goes partly to table and partly to agro-processing. So value added is definitely a focus of ours, and that's what we want to encourage and promote. So definitely, working on that. Well, I'm seeing also sorts of questions about JAMPRO. Can JAMPRO assist in brokering connections with celebrities who love and use Caribbean products or have Jamaican connections? And I see a number of names here. I didn't know Khloe Kardashian, Chrissy Teigen, Naomi Osaka. Yes, we can help to do that through exactly what I was just saying. We have the film, animation, and music department of JAMPRO, which is focused on building the creative industries, and they have a lot of those links, which we, you know, that Madonna just spent her 62nd birthday in Montego Bay at Round Hill, and she was all over social media showing photos of her big birthday bash. So yes, there are a lot of these people actually come to Jamaica, and a lot of them we can connect with them through people like the Consul General, who I know is extremely well connected, and through our ambassadors overseas. But yes, definitely.
I think they're also referring to that is some of the people are posting stuff like the Kardashians posting like they're cooking and using their walkers with jerk seasoning. So, I mean, you know, it's millions of people following their site.
Yes, absolutely.
And you see the immediate impact on those and the products that they endorse like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that we definitely need to do in building Brand Jamaica. I have a couple of questions on warehousing and shipping. There's a company here saying that they help small niche manufacturers who want to sell online and need to access the US and other markets. We normally direct them to the JMA, JEA for help. It's the JMEA now, but many are not members. And so first of all, encourage them to become members. I know Richard can do his own PR, but JAMPRO is also a resource, and JAMPRO and JMEA really work in lockstep. So we help each other, and we help their members, their members help us. We have a program called Export Max where we help SMEs. So just get in touch with Shane and explain what information you need, and we will help you with the contacts with the SMEs who need that kind of help. And I see here someone interested in the agricultural sector and cultivation of castor bean. We actually have a lot of information on castor bean, which we are very happy to share with you. So please, again, get in touch with Shane. And then someone asking what initiatives will make it easier for the diaspora to invest in Jamaica. Well, there's a whole set of incentives for the diaspora. Shane, you want to take that one?
Sure, President. Yes. So yeah, there are many incentives that are available. And once we are aware of the different sectors that the investors want to look at, then we will look at what incentive apply for that area. But as I said, just reach out to us here at JAMPRO. We are willing to actually reach out to the Council General CG Roach, CG Wilson Roach. She's actually very helpful. She will guide a lot of these questions to us. So please reach out to us here at JAMPRO or the Council, and we will take it from there. Thanks, President.
Okay, a throwaway question here from Chloe Marie Brown. What types of technologies are being deployed to centralize business development activities? Well, the PSOJ has just launched a whole business portal, which is called smallbusinessportalja.com. I hope I have that right. Shane, can you research that and make sure I have the exact title? But there is that whole portal which helps small businesses. JAMPRO's website also has a lot of information, and we're also developing a national business portal which will centralize information, and that is going live very shortly. But in addition, will allow you to conduct a certain number of transactions online. So that really is, we are taking a lot of the business processes and putting them online so that the streamlining of it will be a lot easier. Larry, maybe I can throw this question to you. What is the criteria for starting an import-export business or distributorship for some of your products from Jamaica? And I think this is a Canadian asking this question. Larry, any advice for them? Larry, you're on mute.
No, I'm not. You want to be in an area that has a representation of the diaspora, and you know, also the crossover potential is great. It's not easy to get started. You know, that's why, you know, it's taken us over 50 years to get this far. I'm not trying to be discouraging, but obviously you need to have some connections in the retail. If you're a distributor, you need to have some retail connections, and you need to have some financial background to get into that, get into the game, so to speak, with marketing funds, etc. Sometimes you can get the manufacturers to work with you in that. So you have to be conscientious of that when you're building your price structure, build in extra capital for things like that.
Okay, I don't know if it has, I hope that has answered the question. Go ahead.
I'd also want to say, Diane, that compliance to the marketing requirement is very critical. You know, packaging compliance, you know, ingredients compliance. So I mean, the one of the first things you have to do is determine the product you want, and to ensure that your local partners working with you to make sure that we have full compliance. I mean, the Canadian market, for example, compliance requirement is very different from the US. I mean, you know, so I've had personal experience there. It took us over a year and a half, for example, to get products into Canada that were already in the US and the UK, for example. In fact, we had to even change the name in some case because of the requirement there. So a big part of the initial barrier, hurdle that needs to get past is just understanding and meeting the compliance and getting it approved by the authorities there. That's a huge step and normally the most time consuming.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Richard. So someone is asking about NLA and the land, access to land. Two responses JAMPRO has to that. One is we have had a major call for land, which is really asking any private person who has land that they want to lease to a private investor for them to contact us, so that we are building a land bank in JAMPRO, which we will eventually put online, and where we will help to connect a landowner who has land for lease with an investor who wants land to grow on. So all those who are interested in land, you may not realize that JAMPRO does a lot of work in connecting people with land. We do site selection for investors, so we can tell you where land is available. We'll do the research for you. We'll also link you to RADA and to other private providers who can do soil tests, like Newport First Sun, who can advise you on what crops can grow on the land. So there are a number of types of assistance that JAMPRO offers. So really you just have to ask the question. So, you know, you've heard me say Shane is there, and Chris in New York and Stephen in Toronto. So please just reach out and ask whatever questions you have. Comment here saying that that we should contact Eve Sales. That was a throwaway comment. That was just a joke, a lighthearted attempt to say, you know, one of the people you could contact is Eve Sales. But obviously there are a number of distributors of Jamaican products. And again, Shane can give you information on that. We've also posted in the chat the smallbusinessportal.com, which has a lot of information available on small business. What else did someone is asking? Is there a plan to better mobilize remittance dollars into investments? This really is a question that we're looking into. There is, I know, research being done on a diaspora bond. That is one thing. There is always the stock market, and please remember that Jamaica has 3 stock exchanges: the main stock exchange, the junior stock exchange, and the social stock exchange. So there's a real opportunity for you to get involved with the stock exchanges in Jamaica and take equity partnerships in Jamaican companies. You can always buy stock. You can always go through some of the private equity companies in Jamaica, of which there are several that can direct you to a number of different investment opportunities. JAMPRO can also link you with SMEs who are looking for investment. All right, Richard, back to you. One challenge export businesses have is the pace at which they can convert labels for specific market requirements. Has JAMPRO and JMEA been facilitating this? Software can likely be developed to rapidly prototype and develop this. Richard?
I'm trying to understand the question. I mean,
so I think they're talking about labels.
Yeah, but getting the labels is not the real issue per se. It's getting approval of the labels. I mean, that's the problem, you know. So for example, let's say, you know, the Canadian requirement is that, you know, let's use a simple one. You need to have 3 languages, you know, French, English, whatever. And you do it and you get it done. You still have to go through an approval process by the authorities. So these fit the requirement and this can be done. The other issue on the timeline on that, which normally takes another month and a half, 2 months, possibly, depending on where you're sourcing the labels from, is just about getting those printed, right? And it depends on the complexity of the product that you're putting out there. So the issue is not so much a printing, because we have very capable people here, you know, whether in Jamaica or elsewhere, to, you know, turn around labels fast. Is getting the approval or save from the authorities. That's where we normally find the longest timeline is. Worse though, when everybody working remotely.
I think the other challenge is keeping abreast of new regulations, because I remember when I used to work at Ray & Nephew, we used to be constantly trying to keep abreast of new regulations. Like suddenly they would come out with, you have to put a pregnant woman's profile with a line through it to say don't consume alcohol if you're pregnant. So there are different labeling requirements that are constantly updated. But a lot of that information is on the Jamaica Trade Information Portal and also available from JMEA, JAMPRO, and sometimes Trade Board. So I think the information is out there, and you just need to keep in touch with the sources of information, a lot of which nowadays are online.
And also the relationship with the people, you know, the brokers and your distribution partners, because sometimes it's just also an interpretation by the people at the port that day.
Exactly.
So you'll be so surprised if you ship to one port in the UK, and if you change and go to another port, it's like it's a different rule because somebody's looking at the rules and interpreting them differently. So it's not, you know, it's a very critical part of our economy, you know, just driving export. But believe me, it's not easy getting past initial hurdles. But having gotten past them, it typically becomes so much easier after that.
I'm going to take 2 more questions, and then I think we're probably going to have to move to wrap up. So, Richard, I'm going to throw them to you. Any special loans or finance arrangements for producers or exporters? I think that's a gift question. And the other one is concerning honey and the availability of clean jars and bottles.
In the case of producers, and you know, there's something called productivity incentive relief that allows for duty-free access for most of the materials that you need for production. And in recent times, when it comes to finance, etc., one issue the productive sector had was about getting competitive loans from the financial institution, because they wouldn't accept equipment as collaterals, etc. And the Development Bank of Jamaica has launched something called Credit Enhancement Facility, CEF, which essentially takes away the risk of that from the approved financial institution, now allowing companies to access up to 6.5% now interest rate on loans to invest in their business. So there's a number of things happening on the ground that is making access to financing and just more available and less onerous than before. So we definitely have made some move in the right direction. And you see it on the ground. You see the SMEs and companies have reinvested, they have retooled. And you'll be surprised with this. I mean, you look at the level of capital imports into Jamaica, you're seeing that has been going up as companies do that. So yes, there are facilities available, and these are being done. And of course, from the agricultural standpoint, I mean, most of those items are duty-free anyway, and have been for a long time. What companies need to do is make sure that they speak to JAMPRO, the JMA, etc., to find out what is available. What are the things that are available? Many people just rush and do stuff, and then they say, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could have gotten this relief. Didn't know I could have gotten this incentive. The first thing in the homework to do is just talk to the relevant agencies to find out what is there, what can we have access to. Don't make the mistake of rushing and then regretting.
Absolutely. I want to second that, because I think doing research is a critical part of any business. And I think a lot of us don't do enough research. The opportunities are there, the finance is there more than ever now. The Exim Bank has new lines of credit. DBJ has new lines of credit. So there really are a lot of opportunities now. And then you have the private equity companies, many of whom are interested in new businesses. And we are also building a fledgling venture capital and angel investing network. So the opportunities are really all there. You need to do research, contact the right people, as Richard was saying, and I think the resources are available. So yeah, I think I've answered most of the questions. Sorry if there were 1 or 2 that we missed, but please.
The question about honey, Richard didn't answer.
Oh, honey, yes. Richard, did you have any?
Honey and jar.
Mm-hmm.
What's the question? Sorry.
How to get clean jars and bottles to put honey in, because a lot of them use recycled Rare Navia bottles, but there may be copyright issues with them doing that. And so there's a concern about how do they get access to clean bottles and jars for product like honey.
I'll have to get the answer to that and revert, President. I mean, I don't know it offhand.
No, I don't either. I don't either.
All right.
Okay, Shane, there was one person who says we need to understand who the decision makers are driving our interest. And I'm not sure exactly what he means by this. I don't know if you have time to take 1 or 2 questions from the floor, but go ahead. If not, you can answer offline.
Yes, definitely. That's the aim. So I just want to just wrap up at this point, President, because we're way past the time.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank the panelists for showing up. Thanks to you, President Edwards. Thanks to you, Mr. Richard Pandewe and Larry, for actually joining us today. On screen now is our contact information. I also want to thank our producers in the background, Chris Benjamin, Stephen Charoux, and Janelle, who did a wonderful job. So you have the information here. All questions we will follow up on all questions, and the webinar will be posted on our website and on our YouTube channel later on this week. So please feel free to access that. At this point, I just want to say thank you and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Yeah.